Thursday, April 27th, National Kids Are Struggling with Life Day. We are going to start page 100 tomorrow. So if you've not finished 5 and 6, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about them today. I'm not going to read chapter 6 to you. I'm going to go over so we have time in the library. You can still donate the shoes if you are wanting to. Home children, I did hand back your yellow folders that you had from camp. Some of them had notes written on the inside of them. Grades will hopefully be going up this weekend. When you come back to life, I'll hook you up with yours. Book, we're going to go there. So again, we are going to start chapter 7 tomorrow, which is page 100. Again, you can write in your book if you want to, if that makes it easier on you. And I'll be reading chapter 7 with you guys tomorrow. Let's see, from chapter 5, which is what we got mostly through with you guys yesterday. New thing there. All right. Chapter 6. To run through with chapter 6, for those of you who have read chapter 6 or did not, we can try to help you out. This was when Dally has now showed up. He comes to rescue them, and they go to go out to eat at
Dairy Queen.
Thank you, Dairy Queen. And that's when, while they're eating at Dairy Queen, who's the kid? Johnny comes up with the idea that he no longer wants to be on the run. And he ends up telling Dally and Ponyboy that he's going, brain. Was he turn himself in? Yes. That he's going to turn himself in, and the fact that he does not want to be on the run anymore. He and Dally start yelling at each other about what happens when you turn yourself in. They get back, the heater again, because that's going to show up coming up. The fact that Dally carries a gun, but he does not have any bullets in the gun. And then when they get back to the church, it turns out something has happened to the church.
Fire.
It is now on fire. The church is on fire. And not only is the church on fire, but there's other people at the church.
Children.
And that's where we have a whole bunch of children at the church. We got to that. We did not get to this with you guys yesterday, did we? No, I don't think so. I want to make sure. And so we have a whole bunch of children who were there that were also in the church. And so that's when all of a sudden Ponyboy and Johnny jump out and go running into the church. And we get to my favorite character in the book.
Mr. Brovicast.
He's not in the book.
No.
Oh.
It has bubbles.
Even though jellyfish don't blow bubbles, but I like the smiley face. Did you just shush me?
You just talked about yourself.
All right. Oh, so my favorite character is on page 91. And it's the teacher by the name of Jerry.
Probably the
I could only wish I was like Jerry. I have a dream to be like him, but I'm not there yet. Hi, Jordan. No. Well, my favorite part's coming up, but it's not about Jerry. Jerry's my favorite character, but he's not my favorite part. I'm going to show you. So on page 91, this is when they pull up to the church and they see that it's on fire. It says, this is Jerry talking. We were having a school picnic up here, and the first thing we knew, the place is burning up. Thank goodness it's wet season and the old thing's worthless anyway. Then to the kids around him, he shouted, "Stand back, children! Firemen will be coming soon!" "I bet we started it," I said to Johnny. "We must have dropped a lighted cigarette or something." About that time, a lady came running up. "Jerry, some of the kids are missing." They're probably around here somewhere. You can't tell with all this excitement where they might be." "No," she shook her head. "They've been missing for at least a half an hour. I thought they were climbing the hill." Then we all froze. Faintly, just faintly, you could hear someone yelling, and it sounded like it was coming from inside the church. The woman went white. "I told him not to play in the church. I told him." She looked like she was going to start screaming, so Jerry shook her. That's what makes Jerry my favorite. So, one, he is a teacher, which does make him great, but from there, I took you to Camp Tecumseh for a field trip. Jerry takes his kids to an old abandoned rundown church. Already a step in the right direction. Then, church catches on fire and they can't find any of the kids. Well, they can't find some of the kids. Does Jerry freak out? No. Church is on fire, kids are missing, and Jerry's like, we got the important ones. That's the love of kids I want to have someday. Then the woman comes running up and she's like, "Hey, we're missing some of the kids and I think they're inside the building." And then screaming happens. Does Jerry freak out? No! He just grabs the woman and shakes her like, shut up, woman! They're just children! That's quality teaching right there. You don't get freaked out about missing kids, and then you find out some of them are burning alive, and you're like, chill out, they're just children. It's good stuff. Well, good job again. Then we get to my favorite scene in the book, which is when they run into it. And this is on page 92. And this is as they go running into it. Johnny and Ponyboy go in there to try and save some of the kids that are in there. This is where my favorite scene comes in. All right. Oh, Jerry tries to jump in to save them, but he can't get through the window. I grew up watching cartoons, so the scene where Jerry can't get through the window, I don't know if you guys ever watched Winnie the Pooh or whenever he tried to visit the rabbit and would jump through the tree hole, he would oftentimes get... So as soon as I read about Jerry getting stuck trying to get into the... That was the first thing I thought about. It was like Jerry's little fat butt and little legs like kicking in the air, and he was like, I can't say. So I don't think that's what happened, but in my brain I immediately went to that. All right. Where it says, Johnny, sorry, is that guy coming? Johnny shook his head. A window stopped him. Too scared? Nah, Johnny gave me a grin. Too fat. I couldn't laugh because I was scared I'd drown in the smoke. The roar and crackling was getting louder, and Johnny shouted the next question. Where's the kids? In the back, I guess. I hollered, and we started stumbling through the church. I should be scared, I thought, with an odd detached feeling, but I'm not. The cinders and embers began falling on us, stinging and smarting like ants. Suddenly, in the red glow and the haze, I remembered wondering what it was like in a burning ember, and I thought, now I know. It's a red hell. Why aren't I scared? We pushed open the door to this is where my favorite part comes in. We pushed open the door to the back room and found 4 or 5 little kids, about 8 years old or younger, huddled in a corner. One was screaming his head off, and Johnny yelled, "Shut up! We're gonna get you out!" And the kid looked surprised and quit hollering. I blinked myself. Johnny wasn't behaving at all like his old self. He looked over his shoulder and saw that the door was blocked by flames, and then pushed open the window and tossed out the nearest kid. I caught one quick look at his face. It was red-marked from falling embers and sweat-streaked, but he grinned at me. He wasn't scared either. That was the only time I can think of when I saw him without that defeated, suspicious look in his eye. He looked like he was having the time of his life. I picked up a kid, and he promptly bit me. But I leaned out the window and dropped him as gently as I could, being in a hurry like that. A crowd was there by that time, and Dally was standing there, and when he saw me, he screamed, "For Pete's sake, get out of there! That roof's going to cave in any minute! Forget them blasted kids!" Here's why that part's my favorite. One, my cartoon upbringing kicks in again. When it talks about when he tries to pick up the kid and the kid bites him, me having grown up on cartoons, I often remember seeing like when a guy get bit by an animal or a fish, and you see like the guy would shake his hand with like the fish on the end of his hand, like, I can't get. I imagine that, but with like a small child like on the end of the hand, and Ponyboy running around like, ah, and like waving at like a little like toddler flopping up. For some reason, my imagination kicked in. But the reason I enjoy it is, how do Ponyboy and Johnny save the children?
Throw them in the window.
Do you know how many children I would save if all I had to do was throw kids out of windows? I would be saving kids left and right. I would just be going and finding kids and going, do you need saving? And I would pick you up and I would just throw you out a window. Even in this room, where you're like, Mr. Broviak, there's no windows. That's quitter thinking. I just have to keep throwing you against that wall until a window forms. And I'll throw you hard enough, there's going to eventually be a window, or you're going to be saved. So the idea of just saving children by hucking them out windows, that was a beautiful part of the book. I was like, oh, I would love to just go around saving children. By the way, if anyone ever goes back and checks my Google search history, it'll be kind of weird. Because I had to Google things like kid with open mouth, throwing kids out windows. And so there's all kinds of weird things that probably pop up in my... But you find good pictures like this. I mean, I have no idea why he's throwing a kid out a window while he's wearing a fanny pack around him. But apparently that kid needed saving. And if you could see his face, there'd be a smile on there because he knows that kid is
Can we see
safe.
his search history at the end of the day? I mean, not end of the day, end of the year.
Oh, and then the bad thing that happens to Johnny, Ponyboy gets out, but Johnny does not. And it talks about the fact that the beams inside the church fall on him. These are the beams that fall on Johnny. And they're on fire. So 2 bad things happen to Johnny. One, he gets 3rd-degree burns because he gets caught in the fire, and then also he gets his back broken because one of the beams falls and smashes his back. But on the bright side, Ponyboy gets out, but before he gets burnt up, 2 things help him out. The one is the big jacket he's still wearing, that jeans jacket, which prevents some of the flames. When you guys were in elementary school, do you remember what they would tell you to do if you ever caught on fire? Stop, drop, and roll. Ponyboy doesn't do that, so Dally helps him. And this is the other way I want to save kids. How does Dally help him? Punches him in the spine. Because Dally's like, "You're on fire!" Fwap! And he's like, "Aha!" And then goes down. And then as Ponyboy's like rolling on the ground on fire, Dally's like, "You're welcome. Stop, drop, and roll." Or punch, flop, and die. I think they're all about the same things. So that gets me to the main favorite parts of it. I'm almost there, Drinky. So if you've not finished through the end of chapter 6, I tried to hit some of the big exciting things for you. Tomorrow, we're going to start after the hospital scene with the whole smoking and stuff like that.
You answered my question too late.
I'm so glad I can help. All right. Now, we're going to be heading over to library. Those of you who are either in single digits or Struggle Town, you get to sit back next to me. Otherwise, they do have an activity